So I'm currently contemplating about moving somewhere else and changing up my living situation and my apartment and everything in between. And I haven't fully decided where to go or what to do. And I kind of have multiple options. But again, I haven't fully picked one and haven't decided on which one. And in this video, I'm going to share how I go through these decisions, what kind of mental models I use, and then in order to actually come to a decision. All right, so I always start out by mapping out two things, which is let's just draw this in here, which is one, my desired situation. So where do I want to go? And what's my starting position? So where am I currently? Okay. Excuse the bad drawings, but it will do the job to visualize that. Okay. So that is my current situation, and then the desired situation. And in my opinion, it always does help me a lot to visualize this exactly, because only if I know where I'm starting and where I want to go, I can actually think about the options I have in order to get to that situation. Okay. And we'll just write this down. So for me personally, I'm currently living in Munich. Living in Munich. Living with my girlfriend. Yeah, we live in the city center. And that's pretty much it. That's mostly all there is to this situation. And my desired situation ultimately would be roughly, I'm not going into all the details here, but I want to live more in a nature, countryside vibes. Sunny spot. And abroad, let's say, and bigger, nicer place, maybe even house. Okay, let's just take these things, and the next step is pretty simple, that I just look at both of these things and ask myself, okay, what options do I have right now? Okay, so you can also set a date here, how long it will take you or when you want to achieve this. But essentially, I'm just going to think about my options right now that I have. And they don't have to be just two options. I actually focus on finding as many options as I possibly can, and even asking AI what kind of options I have in order to go from my current to my desired situation. So I have, first of all, more abundance and more opportunities I can see. And then second of all, I can pick the best option in my situation right now. So what options do I have? We could just move to the countryside in Germany. I could just also get rid of apartment, then travel alone, or let's say with girlfriend. That would be a different situation. Travel alone without girlfriend. I mean, she could join later, but that would be an option as well. We could just get rid of apartment, move abroad, even though I'm not really clear what that is so far, or I haven't decided where to go. I could just keep apartment, travel, and then move once I know where I want to live long term. That would be an option as well. I could also do some mix. So move to German, move somewhere else in Germany. Let's say maybe Munich in a different, bigger apartment or outside the city or somewhere. And then travel from there while keeping place, spot, and move once I know where to. That would be something as well. I think those are the main options I have right now. So I'm just gonna copy them in my Notion board. All right. And maybe there are more options, but those are the ones I see right now at this point in time. And what I do now is I'll check the first mental model, which is input output ratio. Okay, so I usually go through them and I ask myself, essentially what the input is, like how much do I have to put in there in terms of resources, time, energy, money, and everything in between, and how much is the effort in order to making this happen, and at what potential output am I looking at? Because preferably I want to find something that has very low input but a very high output. Then there's also not much thinking to do. And move to the German countryside. This would actually be very low input, maybe like a 2, since it's around the corner. And the output would probably be a 4, especially if I stay there. Get rid of the apartment and then travel with my girlfriend. That would actually be a 6 in input. And the output might be a 9, potentially even 10. Travel alone with girlfriend. Without girlfriend. Should be, well, it depends if I keep the apartment or if she moves into a smaller apartment by herself. But let's say like a 2. An output. It's maybe like a 4. Get rid of the apartment and immediately move somewhere else. So we would get rid of the apartment in Munich and we would get immediately another flat in, I don't know, in Spain or in Barcelona or Australia or somewhere else. That would input wise be certainly, that would be like a 7 or 8. And output wise, probably be a 3. Because the main thing is there might be the potential that we move somewhere and we take all the stuff and we get the paperwork done and stuff like this. And then after 6 months, I end up not liking the place or I don't feel it and don't want to stay there long term. So it's not really the best option. Keep the apartment, travel, and then once I know where I want to live long term, that would be input certainly a 3, because it is a little bit of input because I still have to pay the apartment even when I travel, which is some cost point, and especially in Munich, rent prices are really nice. And the output would probably be, if I keep the apartment, just travel, and then we move once we know where to. Might be like a 6, I guess. And what about this one? Move somewhere else to the countryside or in Germany or in Munich even, something bigger, something nicer, and then travel while keeping the spot and then move once I know where to. Would probably be a 2. And the output would probably be I'd say even a 9. So just based on this, I can already see that I have two options that are really nice. So this one doesn't make sense at all. You can see it's very high input with very low output. So you want to stay clear of them. This one might be something else as well, even though the input is high, but still output good. This one, I guess, would be the last one. Okay, so just seeing them already is really clear what would make most sense in my situation right now. Probably somewhere this one, because it's very low input, so I could do this immediately and then we could move to this option right there. And both of them would probably get me closer and closer to my dream state. So from here, for example, especially if I don't like my apartment or I don't like living in the city center, even moving to the countryside is probably, I get a nicer spot. I live more in nature, which is more calming and I can focus better. And then from there, I travel and then I move to some other country once I know exactly where to, which will get me there step by step. I don't have to take a huge jump, but just small steps will get me there as well. So this actually already answers my question pretty much. What I can do as well is thinking about the second order consequences. So for example, let's just focus on the top two. Keep this other one in the backlog. So for example, if we actually move somewhere in Germany, let's say to the outer city or countryside, somewhere else, and from there we move there and I travel, let's say 3 to 6 months every year to different spots, maybe South America, Australia, US, somewhere in Europe, any place I could potentially see myself living in long term. And I do this 3 to 6 months every year for maybe like 1 or 2 years, depending on how long it takes. And once I find a place where I'm like, wow, I really love it here, I can see myself staying here very long term, potentially even having family there and stuff like this. Then I take all the stuff and I move it over there and get a place there. What would be the second order consequence if I do that? Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is I'm less outcome dependent. So I have this safety net. I have a place here. I don't have this stress because I did this before. If you just travel, at least for me, it's very stressful. You always have to find a place. You always have to get accustomed to a new spot. You always have to find the places, the gym, the restaurants. The place, you also pay more rent, as long as you're not in just Asia or South America, but you just pay more on rent and everything. And it's more stress. It's much more stress. But if I have a place, I have this place where I can just come back to. It's calm. It's my spot. I enjoy it there. And when I feel like exploring the next place, I can just go. So I'll probably be less in a rush and less outcome dependent, which would be the second order consequence, if I'm not wrong. And the third order consequence would probably be, counterintuitively, might even find this place faster. And while doing this, I would also be able to grow my business faster because I'm not so stressed by just traveling. So and also if my business grows faster, I obviously also have more. I can get a nicer place there. I can get a bigger place. I can, travel even more. If I just get rid of the apartment and then we travel together, what would be the second order consequence? Yeah, again, it might stress me a little bit because I don't have a home anymore. I don't have this place where I'm really sick of traveling, which usually comes after a few months for me, where I can just go back to. And I know it's my space. I have my own bed. I have my own kitchen. All the creature comforts I enjoy. And I don't have to just get someplace, sleep in a shitty bed, or not a shitty bed, but like a new place. So it's more stress. And the third order consequence would be if I have more stress like that, it probably also makes me more distracted from my business and therefore less money. Okay. So just by thinking my consequences through and seeing how this actually might turn out if I do this action, I can see that this still seems to be the best one. Like this one, yeah, it's fine, but maybe later. But right now, this one still seems like the best option, especially the consequences are very positive as well and going in the right direction. Yeah. And what I do right now as well, which I'm not gonna show completely, but if you know what your values are and you are very clear on what your values are in life and what you want, for example, if I say I value freedom, then I would also look at all my options, so especially the top 2 options, and I would compare them and think about how they would affect my values and how my values would play out in that scenario. So for example, if freedom is one of my values, I would actually look, okay, would I be able to live out this value here? How does this match? Is this in alignment with my value of freedom? Would I have more freedom, less freedom? What does freedom even mean to you? You obviously have to define that for yourself. And I will compare there too. So because what I did right now is just like the logical side of making a decision. But for me, it's also very important to take my emotional side with me and to think about the values. What kind of emotions do I want to feel? What's my emotional motive behind doing that? So I'm also very invested emotionally, and it's meaningful to me because that usually gives me the drive to really follow through with the decision. If it just rationally makes sense, there's a high chance I might do it, but there's also a chance I might not do it or I stop along the way. But if I'm also very invested emotionally because I know it aligns with my values, it gives me the emotions I want in life, I'm very clear on my emotional motive behind that action and that decision, and it feels meaningful to me, then I will certainly do the action and I will follow through with it because there's a strong emotional why behind it. Okay, so that would be the last step, but already from here, like this would probably be the thing I will do.